tonight, looking at the cost of COVID-19 on GTA businesses.
This virus really hurt our business. It cut down our business of almost 50%.
Empty Chinatown restaurants, hotel rooms unused, and a lot of hand sanitizer. Plus,
it is inhumane to cut when the crisis is on the rise.
The province cancels $1 million funding boost for rape crisis centers, fueling concerns wait times could spike. And the strike is on. School's out tomorrow for Toronto high school students, as well as Catholic schools right across the province, even after the province offered some major concessions. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Toronto has been lucky so far. Around the world, cities are seeing conferences being canceled, schools closed, and tourism and travel dropping, all because of fears of COVID-19. We're not seeing any major cancellations or closures here, but that doesn't mean it's not having an economic impact. Chris Glover looks at that.
Already feeling the pinch from so many empty tables, 30% of staff is on rotating 2-week vacation at this restaurant in Chinatown.
Virus really hurt our business, and it cut down our business of almost 50% to 60%.
Owner Charlie Lin says COVID-19 has stung, but nothing like the 2003 SARS outbreak. Back then, he was a waiter here and was put on vacation for a full month.
We couldn't close down the restaurant, but still we lost money.
Hey, Toronto!
In 2003, a concert headlined by international rock stars was needed after SARS. Things got so bad for Toronto tourism. Nothing like this is needed right now, says Ontario's finance minister.
It's early days yet, but certainly issues around supply chains, issues around tourism, and finally issues around consumer confidence are all things that we've been monitoring closely here.
2% more hotel rooms in Toronto's core are like this right now, idle. But the Hotel Association isn't concerned yet.
So obviously that's not so bad at this point in time, but we can't not be vigilant.
Just weeks away from the popular one-of-a-kind craft show, and organizers say it's on. So far, no events at Exhibition Place have been scaled back. CDI College's North York campus is closed for just today. The 24-hour caution comes after the spouse of an Iranian student tested positive for the virus.
There are some businesses that are really suffering, but there are some that there's absolutely no change at all.
We took a walk with the Chinatown BIA to see some of the 70 hand sanitizer dispensers now up at area businesses.
So why are you taking the measures like with the hand sanitizer?
I think it's a good measure because everywhere you go is hand touching the door. You know, that is the first contact that we have with the outside world.
Even though Debbie Chen carries hand sanitizer with her everywhere, she says this coronavirus caution is a bit overblown.
My mom asked me to wear a mask, but I don't see a lot of people are wearing it. So I think it's fine because, yeah, it's not that concerning so far.
Tourism Toronto says last year the city set a record for number of visitors to the city, 28 million people who spent roughly $6.7 billion. This year, though, it expects once these numbers start to roll in to see quite a dip. Chris Glover, CBC News, Toronto.
A tow truck driver is in hospital tonight after a shooting in North York. It happened near Leslie Street and Highway 401 just before 7:30. Police say it's too early to tell if the shooting is related to an ongoing tow truck turf war in the region.
At this point in time, it's, again, early in the investigation. It's very difficult for me to say at this stage. Obviously, it's going to be something that our investigators are looking quite closely at, the recent events that have occurred, to see if this incident is related to them.
Police say up to 15 shots were fired, and the victim drove himself from the shooting scene at a GO parking lot to the hospital a short distance away. He's in non-life-threatening condition. No suspect information has been released at this time. Leslie Street was closed between Esther Shiner Boulevard and Highway 401 for much of the evening, including the 401 on and off ramps. And Toronto police continue to investigate after someone or a couple people vandalized 2 collision reporting centers overnight.
What they did was smash the windows, step inside, poured gasoline on the carpet, set it on fire, and then fled the scene.
You can see the damage to the reporting shopping center on Howden Road in the Birchmount and Lawrence area. The fire was contained to the lobby area, and there were no injuries. And on the other side of the city, near Weston and Finch, another reporting center was also vandalized. Police are going through surveillance video trying to identify any suspects. Well, talks will continue tomorrow between the province and the union representing Ontario's Catholic teachers. They are still planning to go ahead with a one-day province-wide strike tomorrow, as will high school teachers in Toronto. This is despite the government backtracking on two of the most controversial changes to education. Lisa Shing has more.
The time is now. Get to the table and cancel tomorrow's strikes.
A day after announcing a dramatic reversal, Ontario's education minister called on teachers' unions to reach an agreement.
Enough with the dithering, enough with the delay.
Late yesterday, Stephen Lecce said his government is walking back increasing high school class size averages from 25, keeping them close to the status quo at 23. And it's not making online courses mandatory anymore. In question period, the Premier and opposition leader went head-to-head on that.
And we're going to continue doing everything we can to get the teachers' union to sign a deal and put an end to this nonsense.
It's this government that created the nonsense in the first place.
Now, the unions are accusing the government of bargaining in the media and say even a slight increase in class sizes still means job losses. Considering its sizable capitulation on two contentious issues, the province wants the unions to accept a 1% annual salary increase and changes to seniority-based hiring.
Every time I've made an announcement in good faith to move towards a deal, there is an impediment to progress. There's something wrong with it.
This education professor's take on the impasse.
My cynical side says the government is more interested in speaking to the public so that the public will be able to say, teachers, what's your problem? Why are you doing this? Why aren't you bargaining?
English Catholic teachers are back at the bargaining table, but they'll still join some public high school teachers in a one-day strike tomorrow. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
A warning tonight from the paramedics union about a shortage of ambulances in this province, all amid a rise in 911 calls.
I see firsthand the strain on the system. I can tell you it's entirely legitimate to wonder if an ambulance will be available when your child goes into anaphylaxis or your partner has a heart attack. It's not our goal to needlessly alarm people. This is why we took steps to see if the data would support our impressions on the ground. And it does.
CUPE releasing a report today which outlines rising call volumes and ambulance shortages in 22 regions in Ontario. It says the rise in calls may be a combination of our aging population and the opioid crisis, and now potentially more COVID-19 cases. The union adds that healthcare cuts by the province are increasing the pressure on the 5,500 paramedics and dispatchers it represents. The province says it does plan to boost funding this year. And there are also concerns tonight about the amount of funding Ontario's 42 rape crisis centres receive. Their budgets got a one-time boost last year, money that advocates hoped might be repeated. It isn't, and now advocates worry victims of sexual violence who need to speak to someone will have to wait even longer, or perhaps not even get the help they need. Angelina King has more.
Today, Lady Justice is
with the Me Too movement still making headlines, the chair of the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centres says she's seeing a big increase in women looking for help. There's just not enough money to meet the demand.
It's really disheartening.
She says in 2018, centres in Ontario received more than 50,000 crisis calls, 20,000 more compared to a decade earlier. To help, last year the province gave crisis centres an extra $1 million, boosting funding to $15.8 million. There was no guarantee that extra money would be there this year, but Singh hoped the province would recognize the increasing demand.
We've been chronically underfunded for decades, and so to get this one-time funding really meant a lot for us, and to be able to provide services and supports for survivors of sexualized violence.
The crisis centre Singh works at in Toronto received $76,000 of that extra funding. It helped decrease wait times from 18 months to 6. Plus, they were able to hire 3 additional workers who provided in-person counseling and ran support groups. Those services will now have to be cut, and there's concern the new jobs will be gone too.
When the crisis is on the rise, it's just inhumane.
Jill Andrew is calling on the PCs to reverse the decision. She's the NDP Women's Issues critic and a survivor of child sexual abuse.
What it means to have to wait 18 months or more for support as a survivor, it means that you're not surviving.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the Attorney General said in part, "Our government delivered on its guarantee. Our work continues to find ways of directing more resources and tools to the front lines of victim supports."
With the provincial budget being delivered in 3 weeks, Singh said she'd like to meet with the ministry in hopes of getting the cuts reversed, but says no matter what happens with the funding, they'll continue to support survivors. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette Kennedy is back with us tonight. She joins us with her first look at the forecast. We got some nice clear skies overnight.
Yeah, we're getting to a nice clearing trend, Mike, and that sets us up for a good start to the day on Thursday. A lot of sunshine in our skies, and then things will change a little bit as we get into the afternoon with some increase in cloudiness. And then it's late Thursday evening, overnight, and into Friday. We get into some mixed precipitation, primarily a little bit of light, wet snow, and some really mild temperatures. I know we've been running above seasonal, but I mean really mild temperatures coming. You'll have to wait for that, though. I'll have that in the 5-day forecast coming a little later in the show. Let me just give you the short range here in terms of what's happening. The clearing trend as high pressure builds in overnight and protects us into Thursday morning. Thursday afternoon, the next system approaching pushes some clouds into our skies, and then into the earlier evening, late afternoon, early evening, southwestern Ontario, you'll start with a bit of a mix, mostly showers actually back towards Windsor, and we will see some wet snow coming through in the overnight hours, and then a bit of a dry slot for the commute on Friday morning, and then wrap around light stuff coming through, and that's where we get that 1 to 3, maybe 2 to 4 centimeters. Certainly we'll be seeing that a little bit further north in terms of the accumulation. Overnight tonight, -3, running above seasonal in terms of that even low temperature. And tomorrow we go to 4 degrees. A nice start, a little more clouds later on.
Okay, thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
Well, the Bank of Canada lowered its benchmark interest rate today in response to the coronavirus fears. How that could have a big effect on the GTA's already red-hot housing market. That's after the break. Well, anyone in the market for a home right now knows just how expensive things are out there. Toronto's housing prices continue to see double-digit growth. Now add an interest rate cut to the mix, which is good for mortgages, but what does it mean? Does it mean it's a good time to buy? Natalie Nanowski looks at that.
In a city where construction can't keep up with demand, experts say Toronto didn't need the extra stimulus of lower interest rates.
Cutting rates at this pace is definitely
at least risking overheating the Toronto housing market.
So why did the Bank of Canada do it?
To stimulate the economy in the face of the coronavirus.
And as markets fell over the last week,
there's a need for central banks around the world to really take firm action to alleviate investor concerns.
In the last month, the Toronto Real Estate Board says the city saw double-digit growth, with condos seeing the biggest boost. In the last year, prices went up 18%. Now the average unit is about $700,000.
Condos continue to become less and less affordable for first-time home buyers. Condos have really been the starter home for first-time buyers for the last several years, so that's going to be a real challenge for that home buying segment.
So what does $700,000 get you in the city of Toronto? Come with me, I'll show you.
Right now, we're basically in the core of downtown Toronto. We're located right at the corner of King and Spadina, which is obviously, right in the heart of things. We're right now in a 1+ den corner unit.
And it comes in at 600 square feet without parking. In today's market, it would list at $700,000, but given the Bank of Canada's announcement, it will likely sell for higher.
In the 7 or less price range, we're seeing a lot of first-time home buyers, which is likely or is literally the most aggressive market. So I think we're going to see continued multiple offers, tons of bidding wars, and overall just a lot of activity on the market for buyers.
So those once affordable condos may not be so affordable anymore.
We're expecting anywhere from 100 to 150,000 people coming into the city, and with that much demand, we are faced with a supply issue, so I don't foresee things slowing down anytime soon.
So it's a good time to really be a seller. Experts predict that the market could cool off late this year or early next year, but if the coronavirus continues to spread globally, could prompt the Bank of Canada to cut rates even further, and that could heat up Toronto's already hot housing market. Natalie Nanowski, CBC News, Toronto.
The trial began today for one of the teens charged in the St. Michael's College School sexual assault case. The former student is one of 7 boys initially charged. He is pleading not guilty. Lorenda Redekop has the latest on what happened today, but first a warning, some details of the story may be disturbing.
The teen was 15 at the time of the alleged offenses. He pleaded not guilty today to 6 charges, 2 counts each of gang sexual assault and both assault and sexual assault with a weapon. In court, they showed video of that weapon, a broomstick, and also a 22-second video of one of the incidents on November 7th, 2018. It was recorded on a phone inside the locker room. Police say it was circulated among the boys' football team, classified by police as child pornography. In it, you can hear yelling and cheering. Someone yells, "Get in there, get in there." "Oh my God" is also heard. Someone calls out, "Chill, chill, chill." A student is sexually assaulted with a broomstick. Faces aren't clear. The first witness is Detective Constable Daniel Sunghing with the Toronto Police Sex Crimes Unit. In the video, he identifies the accused as a person holding down the victim's hand, restraining him. He points out the clothing, sweatpants with white stripes, and compares them to surveillance video from a stairway outside the locker room. Defense lawyer Gary Tomlinson objects, saying he does not agree the date and time are accurate on that stairway video. In connection to the other alleged assault, he shows data from his client's Presto card with dates and times, trying to show his client couldn't have been there. Sunghing responds, "You can't determine who was using the card unless they were caught on video." Initially, 7 students were charged. 4 teens pleaded guilty. They were each sentenced to 2 years of probation. 2 students had their charges dropped. This is the final case to go through the courts. This trial continues on April 1st. This morning, before the trial got underway, 9 teenaged boys were brought into the courtroom with their parents. They were subpoenaed by the Crown to testify next month. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Clear skies, relatively clear skies over our city tonight. You'll need the sunglasses tomorrow, though, but will you need to shovel some snow on Friday or just depend on your rain jacket? Colette has the details after the break. Carla Kennedy's back with her extended forecast. You mentioned there's some wet flurries Friday morning, but it sounds like it's not something we need to worry about long term.
Yeah, that's right, Mike. It's nothing too awful in terms of the amount of precipitation and snowfall we're going to be seeing, and it's not going to last. So that's for sure when you see some of the temperatures coming when we get to the long-range forecast. So in terms of snow, it's not going to be a record. The record for this date in history, 1985, almost 25 centimeters. And I do want to point out our average high should be around 1.5 and our average low around -7. They start to really climb pretty quickly at this time of year. So that's just a little reminder of what would be seasonal. Definitely way above that seasonal. Remember, it was 1.55 degrees Toronto. Oshawa, St. Catharines around 7, although your seasonal is just a tiny bit higher there. Now, here's a look at the situation overnight. We've got the clearing trend, that high pressure in place. It's there for the beginning of the day on Thursday. So sunshine, things looking pretty good. A westerly breeze turns towards the south, though, as we get into the later afternoon hours. Some cloud cover moves in, so we'll see those clouds thickening as we get into the later afternoon and evening hours. And then the precipitation moves in late afternoon, early evening. This is 7 o'clock where I've stopped this image here. And you're seeing mostly showers for southwestern Ontario. But as it sweeps towards the GTA into the later evening, we'll likely see mostly some wet snow. Again, very light in nature, not much moisture to work with here. And then it's more of a mix of showers towards St. Catharines, Grimsby, through that region there in the Niagara region. Overlooking what happens, though, later in the day on Friday. There may be a dry slot kind of for the morning commute where it's not too bad, but just know that it's not going to be over with. There's that wraparound, and that will give us more of a dusting. But still, those totals, they're around 3 centimeters or so, and we'll see closer to 5 centimeters getting up into cottage country. So here you are overnight in southwestern Ontario, -4 for the low, but you see sunshine to start, clouds increasing, but the precipitation later, so it means you should be able to climb to 6 degrees. And then into the GTA, the numbers look like this, -3 to -4 for overnight lows, well above that -7, which is seasonal. And then tomorrow afternoon, not quite as mild as what it was today. There you go, though. Friday, 2 degrees only for the high. Saturday, just remember Saturday night, we lose an hour there. And ta-da, we got to finish off with those milder temperatures, really mild temperatures we'll be seeing as we get into some double digits to start next week.
We lose an hour, but we gain double digits in temperatures.
Yeah, I think I'll take that trade-off.
Pretty good for me. Thanks a lot, Colette.
You're welcome.
Oh, red sky at night, sailor's delight. It sure is pretty to look at, but is there any science behind that phrase about the red sunset? We'll give you a little lesson after the break. If you have the habit of looking at the sky to determine the weather, you likely know that old sailor's poem about red skies. Maybe you think of it only as a nice rhyme. Well, as CBC meteorologist Ashley Bromeiler explains, there's a lot of science behind that saying.
We've all heard it. Red sky at night, sailors delight. Red sky at morning, sailor take warning. But did you know that there's actually science to back it up? There are a few things happening here. First, our weather systems generally move west to east. And those beautiful colors we see in the sky, they happen because millions of tiny particles in the atmosphere, like dust, help scatter the light. If we shine light through a prism, you'll see a slew of different colors. Different colors have different wavelengths. Blue is the shortest wavelength, and that's why the sky is blue. Red has the longest. Remember what I said about weather systems moving west to east? If there are clouds in the west and clear skies to the east, a rising sun will illuminate those clouds. Now, at this point, the sun is low on the horizon. Its rays have further to travel, so we see red. And those red skies in the morning warn us that weather is on the way. In the evening, it's opposite. Our red sky means that the west is clear and the clouds in the east are moving out over the ocean. This usually means that high pressure is approaching, teeing up a beautiful day. See, red sky at night, sailor's delight. It's not just folklore, it's fact.
And now you know that. We're CBC meteorologist Ashley Bromeiler in St. John's, Newfoundland. Before we go, this just coming into our newsroom, Toronto police are asking for the public's help in locating a missing 14-year-old boy. They say they are extremely concerned for his safety. They say Shama Jolaimi was abducted near Jane Street and Driftwood Avenue. He was last seen at 8:25 this morning. He's described as being between 5'11" to 6 foot tall, slim build, short dark brown hair, a gray hoodie and gray track pants with thin orange stripe, a shiny black coat, and black and yellow Air Jordans. You can check for the latest updates on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.